What's going on, guys? What's going on, Thai Squad? What's going on, everybody? So the Cleveland Browns beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 24-19 in a snowy football game. In a snowy football game. And this game came down to the wire. We know that this this battle, this rivalry, whatever you want to call it, against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Browns go way, way back, and like last year I think the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Browns split both games, and the Browns had to win this game at home. The Browns had to win this game at home because you went up against a 8-2 Pittsburgh Steelers team. You went up against a 8-2 Pittsburgh Steelers team, and the Browns were 2-8 coming into this game. And the Browns in their last game lost to the Saints. If the Browns lost this game to the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would say that as a Browns fan, the season is over. But the season is not over. The Browns season is not over. They can still make the playoffs, I believe, if they win their next 8 to 6 games. If they win their 8 to 6 games, I do think the Browns will make the playoffs. And I definitely think when you look at it from a standpoint, the Browns have had injuries happen this entire season. Nothing been going the Browns' way. Like, I think all Browns fans, in my opinion, all Browns fans like myself, could say that we thought that the Browns would have like a 8-2, 7-1 record. The last team that came back from a 3-8 or 2-8 record last year was the Los Angeles Rams. So if the Browns can do what the Rams did last year, was started the season off a little shaky, which the Browns did start off the season a little shaky here, because you had Myles Garrett out a couple of games. You had Denzel Ward out with a couple of games. You had Nick Chubb out for a couple of games. We lost we lost our linebacker in Ulusku. We lost our linebacker in JOK. We lost our linebacker in JOK this season. So I think the Browns have been through a lot. They lost only 8 games, and our only wins are against Jacksonville, Pittsburgh now, and Baltimore. And the Baltimore Ravens and Pittsburgh are in the Browns division. So the Browns have 3 more matchups against the Bengals, against the Steelers, against the Ravens. You have 3 more matchups against those 3 teams. And you have other games to win, like against the Broncos, against the Chiefs, against different teams. But those 3 teams in your division is what I'm trying to say. Those 3 teams in the Browns division, the Bengals, the Steelers, and the Ravens. You have to win against in your division. You have to win those division games because those games, to me personally, those games as a football fan, um, are like playoff games. Are like playoff games, and every game counts here. Every game counts for the Browns because when we look at the Browns, we can say that the Browns have like a amazing team on paper, like a playoff team on paper, and now we're looking at a fourth round pick in this year's draft. But with the Browns being the Steelers 19-14, like this was a snowy game. This was a snowy game, and we know as football fans that watch football, we know what the snow can bring for football because in a snowy game, you don't know what's going on. In a snowy football game, you don't know what's going on. You don't know where the football is. You don't know where the football is. And I'm going to say this: we saw all two quarterbacks play this game. We saw Jameis and Robinson. We saw Jamison and DTR. We saw Jameis and DTR play get snaps against this Pittsburgh Steelers defense, which Jameis threw an interception and turned the football over. But when we look at this, basically, when we look at this football game, basically, when we look at it, we can say that your next game is against the 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 Denver Broncos. And here's the thing. When we look at what the Browns did with their quarterback, with Jameis, 18 for 27, 219 yards, one interception, no touchdowns. Now, I'm not going to say with Jameis not scoring a touchdown here doesn't mean that Jameis is still a good quarterback. Jameis is an amazing quarterback when you look at it. When we look at what Nick Chubb did, 20 carries, 59 yards, two touchdowns. Like, when you have Nick Chubb running for 59 yards, that's a good game because Nick Chubb has been out for this entire season, for half of the season. And like, you threw the ball to Ajoku, you threw the ball to Moore, you threw the ball to Tillman, you threw the ball to Julie. Like I would say that this Browns team, before if we made this change, if we made this quarterback change by the second by the by the second by week 2, if we made this quarterback change by week 2, we would be saying here, as Browns fans, we would be saying here, with not a 3-8 record, with probably a 8-8 record, with probably a 8-3 record right now. If we made the quarterback change to Jameis or to JTR, we would say that we would have a different record here. And when we look what the Steelers did, Russell Wilson, 21 for 28, 270 yards, one touchdown. Justin Fields, one he only played one snap. I think when you have two quarterbacks in Justin Fields and Russell Wilson for Pittsburgh, when you have two quarterbacks for Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, I like what Mike Tomlin is doing here is seeing who's the best quarterback to go with. But I would say playing two quarterbacks in a game is okay because you're still trying to figure out who's going to be the starting quarterback. And the same thing goes for the Browns. Is that when you look at the Browns, when you look at the Browns actually, when you look at the Browns actually, the Browns had to make a quarterback switch earlier than week 5. I mean, than week 8 or something like that when Deshaun Watson went down. Because if the Browns and Mike, if the Browns and Kent and Confancy made that switch probably week 2 or week 3 or whenever it was from Deshaun Watson to Jameis or to the JTR. Now I'm going to get the elephant out of the room. I'm going to say this: the entire Browns team is is a great team. As a Browns fan, we're a great team. We just haven't had a we just haven't had a good season this year. But with the Browns not making that quarterback switch when um Deshaun Watson was quarterback and healthy, which I hope Deshaun Watson comes back 100% better. And I'm just going to say this. I think with the Browns, they have to win more games. If you can beat the Pittsburgh Steelers and be sitting here at a 3-8 record and beat an 8-3 team and beat an 8-2 team coming into it and give them their first loss of the season, give them their third loss of the season, that's amazing to do because I can't wait to see what the Browns do against the Broncos, against the Steelers, against the Chiefs, against the Bengals, against the Ravens again, and against other teams that they have on the Browns on their schedule. Because if you can beat a 8-2, 8-3 Pittsburgh Steelers team that looks like going to the playoffs, which I'll give Pittsburgh a lot of credit. If you can beat an 8-3 Pittsburgh Steelers team, 24-19, the Browns could have won a lot of games this season. But as a Browns fan opinion, it just haven't been our year. I think this would give us more motivation going into the Broncos game, going into the Chiefs, going into Baltimore to play the Bengals, to play all the teams we got all the team the Browns got on the schedule. But at the end of the day, when you look at it, you can say that the Browns had to win this game. The Browns really needed to win this game because coming off a bye week, the week before you played the Saints, and then losing to the Saints, and then you got Pittsburgh, you beat Pittsburgh, and here who the Browns got on the schedule for the remaining of their 18 weeks. The remaining of their 18 weeks. schedule. They got the Broncos. They got the Broncos. They got the Steelers again. They got the Chiefs. They got the Bengals. And then they got the Dolphins. And then they got the Ravens. So if the Browns can beat the Steelers and then beat the Bengals, if the Browns can beat the Steelers and then beat the Broncos and then beat the Steelers again and then beat the Chiefs, who knocked us out of the playoffs twice, and can beat the Bengals at the Bengals home, which the next game against the Steelers will be home. And you can beat the Dolphins and then beat the Ravens. If you can beat that team, that could easily be a 8-8 football team right there and be able to get a wild card fight or a playoff fight right there. Because when you have Jameis, a good quarterback, and when you have Nick Chubb back, and when you have Judy, you have more now. You have Tillman. This football team, if you can beat the Bengals, if you can beat the Broncos next game, and you can beat the Steelers after that, and then beat the Chiefs, and then beat the Bengals again, and then beat the Dolphins, and then beat the Ravens again, I would say this would be a good. We could finish 8-8 and have a wild card fight, and have a wild card fight, and then have a wild card fight. The Browns defense did show up. The Browns offense did show up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. If this team's offense and defense can show up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, against the Jacksonville Jaguars, against the Ravens, if this team, the Browns, can show up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, against the Steelers, against the Ravens, if they can show up like they did their last 3 wins, this is easily a playoffs football team. But guys, sub if you're new and never give up your dreams. And I hope all of you guys are safe out there. And stay blessed, everybody, and peace.